Welcome to this edition of ProsTalk. It's going to be a very interesting conversation. For some time now, we've been talking to a lot of architects, engineers, but I think one of the things that everyone needs to understand and know would be when to engage lawyers. And so today, I'm very excited because we have attorney Clarizel King as our guest. Hi, attorney.
Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Natalie.
Hello, hello. So, for those who are just tuning in, Buildipo is a platform for anyone who builds. So, if you're an architect, an engineer, a merchant, or if you are looking for professional resources for your building projects, Buildy is your one-stop shop. So today in Pros Talk, we invited Attorney King to talk about very specific things about purchasing land titles, all that. Kasi very important yan nowadays, especially that medyo may limitations tayo in our movement. How do you do all of that? And again, because this is Pro Stock, we only engage with professionals because a lot of us think sometimes na hindi na kailangan yan, ay kakayanin ko na yan on my own. But they pay the consequence of that after some time. So, but before we get started with our conversations about the legal aspects, no, of owning property and land titles, etc., we just wanted to first introduce our guest, Attorney King. So, Attorney King, can you just give us quick background of your practice and your expertise?
All right, thanks. So my attorney Clarizel King of King and Graido Law. We're a full-service firm focusing on corporate, tech, health law, and of course property law, which is our topic for today. I am also proficient in Mandarin and Hokkien, so we also cater to Chinese clients. So there, that's me.
Yes, which is growing, right? So, Attorney King, I think one of the questions that a lot of people will have nowadays is how do you actually go about, if I want to purchase a property, no, it can be a land, it can be a condo. How do you do that? Do you just do it on your own? What are the things or the things that you need to consider before you actually move in that direction?
All right. So first, you have to check if you're actually talking to the right person, no? I don't know if you've heard lately of the Wilcon fiasco, the whole thing wherein they weren't talking to the sellers pala, and they had all these documents and they're ready to pay. So
Mm-hmm.
you want to avoid that situation. So first of all, you want to have a proper broker actually, and you have to engage it's either real estate professional or lawyers like us to do the due diligence. So when we say due diligence, you have to check the title, the owners, are you actually talking to the right people?
Right.
Things like that. Yeah.
Right, right. So I think that's critical to your point, Attorney Clarnot, the due diligence. So maybe this is where, from a perspective of the people who are just tuning in, can you just walk us through why is due diligence important? What are the ramifications if you don't do due diligence?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, what are the consequences? Number one is you could be actually buying a fake property. So, what does that mean? Meaning, hindi mo pala nabili yung property na gusto mo. Meaning, walang title na ganon. And pagdating mo doon, okay, tatayo ka na ng bahay, you're so happy, and apparently someone else owns that. That's number one. Number two, some people without due diligence can be entering into a double sale. So, ang double sale naman, meaning naman, binenta na pala yung property to another person, ibebenta ulit sa'yo.
Okay.
So, in that situation, sino yung proper owner? Of course, the first one. The
Right.
first one. The first sale. Another thing is when so what if hindi mo na what if nga binenta nga, hindi mo naman din alam. So there's another protection which is first to register.
Mhm.
So kunyari ganyan, sabihin natin nagka-triple sale, binenta nung talagang owner, siya talaga yung owner, binenta niya sa tatlong tao sabay-sabay. The first thing na ang titingnan mo is kanina naka-register. So kung sino yung unang nag-register, siya yung i-recognize. So, unfortunately, in that sense, paunahan. So, kung yung pangatlong buyer ang unang nag-register, then siya yung i-recognize na owner. Then, tsaka na lang habulin si seller. So,
Right.
things like that. And Another thing, for example, SPA. A lot of in special power of attorney, a lot of people rely on that document. It's that document wherein the seller would give power to another person to sell a property.
Right.
So usually notaryado yan. And people say, may SPA na ako. Nakita ko yung seller, binigay yung SPA sa broker, okay na ako. Actually, it's not. You
Okay.
have to check that SPA. For us, actually, we don't rely on that. You actually have to talk to the seller, be able to check if the seller actually issued this SPA. Maraming cases na nangyayari. Supposedly, the SPA was issued years ago, sabihin natin 10 years ago. There are cases wherein hindi na pala siya yung authorized seller. Nag-issue na ng bagong SPA yung seller to another person. Or B, never pala nag-issue ng ganong SPA tong seller. In fact, kaaway niya tong taong nagbebenta ngayon at forged yung document.
Alright.
So things like that we have to look into.
Right? I think, Attorney Clara, that's perfect, no? For those that are watching ProsTalk, ito po yung mga steps that sometimes we think hindi na necessary. Kasi we feel like nakausap ko naman yung tao, mabait, di ba? That's the typical exchange. But let's be very, very careful with our hard-earned money, right? Because a lot of us, before we can make this purchase, it takes us years to save up on it. So yung pag-hire po ng mga tamang resources, and this is what ProsTalk is really advocating, we are encouraging every Filipino that's watching us right now to consult professionals. Okay? Kasi karamihan talaga, di ba, sasabihin nila, hindi kasi kilala yan nung ganito ng ganito ko, right? You need to check the licenses, right? Kahit sabihin nilang real estate broker sila, ina-update po ang license, right? So to Attorney Clark's point, ito po yung mga bagay na that's why maganda po mag-consult tayo ng abogado. Lalo na bago tayo mag-execute ng mga ganyang klaseng ownership, because to her point, di ba, Clark, hindi naman automatic na pag binili mo kahit sabihin mong nasa na yung title, iyon na yon, kasi may registration pang kailangang mangyari. Tama po ba,
Yes,
ma'am?
that's right. Yes, that's right. That's right.
Yes. So I think one of the specific things na pwede sigurong ma-educate natin yung audience, attorney, is ano po ba yung difference ng title sa tax declaration?
Okay,
Interchangeable ba yun?
Yeah, yun. Hindi. So, yun, hindi sila interchangeable. So, ano ba ang title? Ang title is the proof of ownership. So, yun yung usually nakikita natin na yung isang special paper. Tapos, nakasulat doon yung pangalan ng owner on. Tapos, may description yon, and it's issued by the Register of Deeds. So, yun. Yun yung pinaka-proof ng ownership. Kung meron ka nun, nasa sa pangalan mo, ikaw ang may-ari. Ikaw ang kinikilalang may-ari ng lupa na yon.
Mhm.
On the other hand, ano ang tax deck? Tax deck, ito yung tax declaration. Usually, ito yung property record kasi ng LGU, yung local government unit. So, usually, mga cities, municipal, or provincial halls, yan, meron sila nun. Ang purpose naman nun is actually, purpose nun is for you to pay, ito yung basis for you to pay yung real property taxes or yung amilyar. So, usually, nandun nakasulat yung assessed value ng local government unit, nandoon. And anong use ng tax deck? Tax deck, ang use nun actually is a proof of possession. Kumbaga parang, dahil meron ka nun, may semblance of, baka ikaw yung nakatira doon, or ikaw yung, di kasi siya nagme-may-ari. Kumbaga, you possess it, you occupy it to a certain extent. So, ganun siya. But, so are they interchangeable? No, kasi ang tax deck, hindi siya proof of ownership, hindi siya pagme-may-ari. So, example niyan, sa mga malalayong lugar kasi, meron tayong mga provincial areas like Antipolo or Rizal. Meron pa yung mga properties na untitled.
Okay.
So, ang use nun, sometimes, they don't have title, so it's untitled, but they have the tax declaration. So, kumbaga, yun yung pinaka-proof lang nila na sila yung gumagamit ng lupa na yon. But of course, we do not advise people buying properties based on a tax deck. Provincial lands, pwedeng wala talagang titulo. Pero Manila, Cebu, ganyan, the big cities, If you find out that there's no title, they only hold tax deed, that's a very shady. Ano yan, malaking red flag yan. Most probably, they don't own the land. Now
Right.
we go back. For those na untitled, what will
Mm-hmm.
you do, di ba? What if you really want the property? Of
Mm-hmm.
course, we advise not to. But if you really want the property, we advise na ipatitulo mo muna doon sa nagbebenta. Pwede naman eh. Pwede naman nila iparegister yon. There are steps to do that. And it's not really that difficult naman, especially for untitled lands. So yeah, bago mo bilhin, patituluhan mo muna doon sa nagbebenta. 'Di ba? You can siguro do earnest money to show your interest into the property, but definitely don't give them the whole amount because
Right.
it's very risky.
Right. And attorney, I think this is where again, no, kasi that's what we're really promoting in ProsTalk,
Mm-mm.
in Buildy,
Mm-mm.
professionalizing the entire industry. So, to those who are watching, to attorney King's point, no, bago po tayo maglabas ng pera, maganda po talaga magkonsulta tayo para tama yung paperwork. Kasi to her point, at the end of it, yung ownership will come from the title of the land, kung kanino nakaregister yung title. So, is it possible, attorney, na may tax declaration na iba, tapos iba rin yung title owner or nakaregister na title owner?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, it happens. It happens. So it's things like that, no? So who do you recognize?
Mm-hmm.
Usually you recognize the title owner. Then the owner, sorry, the name in the title. So yun yung i-recognize. Yung tax deck kasi madali lang mag-apply niyan eh. In fact, we've had experience na ang isang title, maraming tax deck, iba-iba ang pangalan.
I see. I
So,
see.
kasi mabilis lang kumuha ng tax deck sa City Hall. As long as you give some sort of address, and then you put it in your name, or merong iba, sorry, may mga naglalagay, no? They just put their name. Okay,
Mm.
and then they go about their business, and then they pay a million,
Yeah.
thinking pa minsan na, ano na to, pwede ko nang agawin yung property. When in fact, they don't have any right. You really go back to the title.
So I think, Attorney King, that's very important talaga. Marami ako naririnig na ganyan ding situations where may pinakitang tax declaration and so they feel since siya yung nagbabayad ng tax, then pwede niyang bilhin or the person is entitled to actually sell it. But to your point,
Mm.
for those who are watching, hindi po yun ganun. Kailangan niyo po talagang tignan kung sino yung nakaregister sa title ng property na yan. Whether that's, again, condominium or whatever. Kasi and that's why po, no? And that's why in Buildy today, we've invited Attorney King. Kasi I think that's one of the things that most Filipinos also fail to do. They only engage lawyers pag may kaso na.
Yes,
Instead
that's
na
true.
maging preventive for guidance, they get into it. Tapos, abogado na kasi magulo na. So, yun yung ini-encourage kasi namin talaga yung viewers namin sa Buildy na that's why you need to engage the professionals at the onset para hindi ka malagay sa gulo or hindi malagay sa situation where kailangan mo na talaga ng lawyers. Kasi katulad nung winner, yung diniscuss niyo, Attorney Clarno, it really varies depende sa situation but it would really help kung may guidance ng abogado kasi ngayon may mga tao din ang nag-google na lang, di ba? Kala nila, okay na, ginugal ko na yan. So, I think, Attorney, before we move forward, how can people get in touch with you if they have questions, no? I mean, I hope yung concerns nila preventive rather than may issue na. But how can they reach out to you to find out more regarding, tax? How can they get guidance kung gusto nilang i-verify kasi meron na silang nakitang property na may evidence na of something but they want to make sure na tama. How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, they can reach us through our website at kinggraidolaw.com. That's KINGGRAIDO law, LAW.com. Or they can go to our Facebook. It's at Facebook King Graido Law. So I think the link will be here naman somewhere down below. So there,
Yeah.
they can reach us
Yes.
there.
So our team will actually put the link on this webinar so that people can actually access yung link papunta po sa inyong website. No? All right. So, ma'am, the next question that we have is, to your point, no, you're an expert also in terms of Hokkien and Mandarin. So marami kasing foreign nationals now that are in the Philippines, and I think across the globe, marami na talagang cross-cultural, no? Pwede ka bang mag-own ng property kung hindi ka Filipino citizen?
So, generally, no. Kapag hindi ka Filipino, hindi pwede. So, kailangan Pinoy na Pinoy ka para mag-own ng property. But, of course, there are exceptions. So,
Okay.
for lands,
Mhm.
for you to buy a land, yon hard rule yon na kailangan Pinoy ka. But
Okay.
iba yung tanong kung pwede ka bang maka-receive ng property. Pwede ka ba makakuha ng property kahit hindi ka Pinoy? Yes, pwede. So this is one of the exceptions. Kunya, usually ang nangyayari dyan if minamana.
Mm,
So pag minana mo from your kunyari, parents, ganyan, yan, hindi pwede mong makuha yung, in that sense, pwede maging owner ang isang foreigner. Ang
okay.
instance niyan, kunyari, marami tayong mga Pinoy, mga kababayan na kaya nag-States na, or
Mhm.
nag-Canada, nagpa-naturalize na doon,
Okay.
Canadian or American na sila. Tapos sabihin natin, knock on wood, may namatay sa parents nila.
Mhm.
Most of them would think na, ay naku, kailangan ko magpa-reacquire ng Filipino citizenship para makuha ko yung lupa na iniwan ng nanay ko. That's
Okay.
not true. You don't need to.
I
You
see.
don't need to. But of course, if they want, they can. But
Of
it's
course.
just that you don't need to. You
Okay.
can inherit that property from your parents or whoever, kahit na hindi ka na Pinoy because of the inheritance.
All right.
So, yon. But,
Well,
as a foreigner, pero as a foreigner, kung Canadian ka na, hindi ka na pwede bumili ng property.
okay.
Unless, again, unless, nabili mo siya before, sabihin natin ang situation is, naging Canadian na yung isang tao, isang Pinoy.
Mhm.
Bumili siya ng property nung Pinoy siya, pero hindi niya naparehistro. Hindi niya napaayos sa Register of Deeds. So, ngayon, naisip niya, ay, may pera na ako, ipaparehistro ko ngayon. Pero Canadian na siya ngayon. Pwede ba yun? Pwede.
Okay.
Because when that person bought the land, he was still Filipino. So, pwede pa.
Right.
Um,
So, attorney,
but,
ibig sabihin ba yan, pag sinabi yung inheritance, so just to clarify that, pag sinabi yung
yeah.
inheritance, is that by virtue lang of blood or may will na inassign sa property?
Pwede, by will or by blood. But usually kasi by blood yan eh.
Okay.
So, that way mo siya nai-inherit.
So,
Parang kunyari, parang kumbaga, um, Filipino, kumbaga parang yung bloodline mo, may Filipino blood pa rin kasi na nagpa-flow into you. So,
all right.
parang that's one of the backstories about it.
Okay. So, medyo controversial question. Is it
Mm-mm.
possible na let's say a parent, right? Merong,
Mm-mm.
let's say, tatlong anak. But then the
Mm-mm.
parent decides na ang mag-inherit lang ng property yung dalawa.
Mm-mm.
Inostracize yung isa. Can that happen in the Philippine context?
Pwede, pero there are grounds for that.
Okay.
Kumbaga, pwede mo lang maalis kasi under our laws, kailangan kung may dalawa kang anak, they're both gonna inherit, diba?
Uh,
So, the only way na maaalis mo isa, if that person did a crime against you, yung mga ganyan, merong grounds for inheritance. You cannot basta disinherit
okay.
another person. And by will, sorry, when I say by will, kailangan, hindi siya pwede parang i-will mo to your friend. Hindi siya ganun. So, kailangan bloodline mo pa rin.
Right. So, in the context of that question, na let's say you're a foreigner, right? And sa'yo iniwan, that presupposes na walang living relative. Paano
Correct.
naman?
Pero kailangan relative mo pa rin yung namatay. May bloodline pa rin.
Okay. So, imposible yung mga bigla na lang out of the blue, stranger giving property to somebody.
Yes, oo. Hindi pwede yung bibigay mo sa kaibigan mo na friendship mo na American na matagal, hindi pwede. Yeah.
Alright. Okay. So, by law, hindi rin yun i-recognize. Tama po ba?
Yes, hindi siya i-recognize.
All right. Okay. So with that, attorney, I guess we move to the next, to the third question. No, I think this is the last topic for the day, and I'm pretty sure those who are watching, baka maraming tanong, no, because of that, and we'll try to answer that for you guys. But the last question, attorney, is when you are evaluating, what should you be looking for in a title?
So for a title, kailangan ano, ito yung one of the most important things, no? You have to look at it, yung mismong papel.
Uh,
So, first of all, tingnan mo muna, may mga marks yan eh, may mga LRA, mga NLD, NLTDRA, so parang may watermark siya. So,
okay.
yon kailangan makita mo yan pag inakit mo against the light. And then there's a red seal, kailangan hindi na siya nababasa. When you wet it, parang waterproof siya eh.
Okay.
So, things like that. And then, you have to look at the annotations sa back.
Mm,
So, usually there are several pages. You have to look at whether kompleto ba yung nakuha mo. So,
okay.
usually the page sa baba is kaya 1 out of 6, ganyan. So, you have to check if you actually have 6 pages of it. Kasi yung mga ibang annotations nasa pinakalikod. And
Mm,
some people, what they do to hide the annotations from the potential seller, hindi nila ibibigay sa'yo yon.
okay.
Bibigay nila 1 to 5. Okay, bahala ka na. Tingnan mo, oh, malinis yan. When in fact, it's on the 6th page.
Okay.
So, when you look for annotations, what do you look out for? You look out if it's inherited. So, meron yan section 74. Medyo
Mm,
mahaba yan. Merong reservations yan for certain heirs. So, ganyan.
yes.
So, anong consequence nun? It may affect your taxes and ownership later on kasi it was an inherited property. Look out also for the usual mga mortgages pag may naka-annotate. So, kung naka-mortgage pa yan sa certain banks or certain entities, you
Mm,
want to check for that. But of course, you have to double check then whether, syempre not to discourage rin naman our viewers from buying with properties with annotations. Just
mm,
make sure, check mo lang sa bank or where it was mortgage. Baka naman okay na, tapos na. It's a matter of lifting it. So
mm,
it's a matter of processing it. It's easy lang naman to lift an annotation. The mortgagee,
uh-huh.
sorry, the mortgager just needs to have it annotated again that they already lift the mortgage. So okay na siya. So yun, and then you have to check on mga levy on executions or judgments. Ito medyo mabigat. So check mo baka naman na-award yan in a case to another person.
Right.
So yun, medyo, yan, again, you have to look out, baka naman okay na-settle na. Okay, it's a matter of having it annotated again na naayos na yung levy. And then lastly, mga adversarial claims. So,
Mm,
meron yan, ina-affidavit yan eh, na they have certain claims over the properties. Either
mm,
they were an heir or they bought a portion of it prior,
right.
ganyan. So, yun yung mga things that you look out for in a title. And of course, it's best to have it checked with the RD. Get a certified true copy. That's the best way to check if the title that you are looking at is actually the same as the one registered.
Right. So I
Yeah.
think, Attorney Clarno, for those who are really watching us, we encourage you, please check out King Graido Law, because I think a lot of people, ito talaga yung mistake, right? Like what you're sharing right now. I don't know if it's common knowledge na a title is not just the front page, right? It's all the pages, because to your point, a very, very critical part of the title is the annotation. Because to your point, pag hindi mo nakita yon, isang tao lang nagbebenta sa yung pala that's a property that is shared by, let's say, 10 people. So then yun yung papasok yung adversarial claims, di po ba, Attorney Clary, na parang
Yeah.
syempre kay questionin yun. So naglabas ka na ng pera, hindi mo na ma-recover yung pera mo, you can't use the land, so nakastand yung, so again, it's waste of money. And that's why we
Yes.
really encourage po, no, everyone who's watching us, consult a lawyer. Okay? Huwag po tayong matakot sa cost. Kasi yung cost na yon, it will prevent you from having issues later on. And that's really what professionalizing the industry means. Kasi may mga bagay po na hindi natin alam. right? So for those who are watching, this is very, very important, right? Na karamihan kasi tinitingnan lang yung front title, tapos check nila, nakalagay ba sa pangalan mo yan, yung nagbebenta, or basta pareho lang ng apelido, pwede na. And maraming gano'n, no? So makikita po natin yan, maraming mga property na hindi napapakinabangan ng kahit sino kasi nasa court. Dinidecidean pa. So yun yung gusto nating ipakita sa mga nanonood sa Buildy right now is that money that was spent now in court could have been spent more wisely had you engaged a lawyer, right? To help guide you through the process. Kasi syempre mas may access like Attorney King, right? In your case, kung kinonta kayo, you have the resources, you have the facility to actually connect with the right people para yung validation ng title is complete and you're given the assurance that yung tamang assurances na before you release the money, kasi once the money is released, mahirap nang pong makuha ulit yun eh. So I think Attorney Clar, that's very helpful, no? So again, is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience in terms of, for instance, right, when is the best time for them to engage a lawyer, lalo na pagdating sa mga property discussions, lalo na purchasing of property?
All right. Natalie, sorry, I just want to make a quick clarification a while ago. For the property, if you have to be Filipino, I just want to clarify. For condominiums, pwede ang foreigner to buy a property.
Yes, okay.
So for condominium units, I think most of our viewers would know rin. But as long as 60% of the units of the whole condominium remains to be with Filipinos. But they have to look out for that then. Check with the admin lang. But
Yes.
going back, yes, it's very important to engage a lawyer. Actually, sa start. When you have a real estate broker or a lawyer, so when you start of thinking of buying a property pa lang. When you're eyeing a lot. Yan, or you've already spoken with the seller. Or we've spoken with a broker. You're eyeing a lot, you're wishing to build a property, to build some building there, ganyan. Yun, at the start of the transaction, it's better to already have a lawyer at hand. Why? Just to give you an example, no? So one of our clients wanted to buy a property in Batangas. So, okay naman, parang kausap niya they're already negotiating the price.
Okay.
And then they engage us to say, to just check on the title.
Okay.
They didn't have the copy of the title. Wala lahat. Just the address and the title number. Okay, sige. So we had it checked. And apparently, hindi pala nakapangalan yung property na yan dun sa kausap nila.
Wow.
So things like that. And it's completely in a different person's name. So we had to, right now we're finding out. So what's the relationship between the two of them? So apparently may business deal. Things like that. So now we're dealing with the actual owner.
Okay.
I know, and dealing with all these things, settling the issues. So
Right.
things like that. Yeah.
Right. Kasi attorney, pagka ganon, since syempre no, kung check yun no, or bank check yun no, na ibibigay mo, syempre kung pinangalan mo yun dun sa taong nag-receive, hindi naman siya yung owner, wala ka talagang habol. Kasi
Yes.
so kakasuha mo na lang siya ng something else, right? But then it will take years to recover that. So I think yun yung parati kasi nami-miss to, no? Most of the cases that would come to you and you would hear of could have been prevented kung nag-consult lang sila sa professional. Right? Kung may lawyer sila from the get-go, kasi gano'n gagastos ka din.
Yes.
Pero nandun na sa stage na kaso na. So sana preventive. Like in your case, kung kinonta kayo. So at least, hindi siya kasi it's still possible na kahit na walang ill intention yung kabilang party, that's extra cost pag nag-ayusan na ng paperwork kasi sa maling tao yung bayad. So it's all those things, no?
I'll give you another example, na Natalie. I think this one mas hindi it falls through the cracks. Meron kaming client, bibili siya ng property. Married pala itong seller.
Okay.
So nakasulat doon married. So kunyari, Natalie at ko married to, ganyan. Ang kausap lang niya si Natalie. Thinking, married to. Okay na yan. Eh, ang nakatitle naman talaga, Natalie, di ba? Married to lang naman.
Right.
When in fact, the husband actually does not agree to the sale. So
Okay.
ngayon, galit na galit si husband. Husband is now, not pa naman suing, but we're set, ganyan, almost suing na kasi nga, excuse me, I did not get the money. I did not consent to the sale. I don't want to sell this property. And
Mm,
nakapaghulog na. So
mm.
things like that. So those are the things that we're helping our clients with.
Yeah. So yan, medyo delicate pa yan, no? Kasi
Yes.
right. So I think again, Attorney Claire, thank you for those actual, na story, na para lang maintindihan talaga ng audience why it's really important to have a lawyer. Kasi it also lessens the awkwardness eh. Lalo na yung mga ganyang situation na married to, right? If there was a
Yes.
lawyer present from the get-go, then hindi tayo aabot dun sa point na magkakaroon ng emotional implications. Kasi maka-clarify. Kasi you would have gotten the consent first. Kasi married eh.
Yes, that's right.
The parehong decision, right? So I think
Mm-hmm.
it's those things, Attorney Clar, and this is very helpful, I think, for those who are watching Buildy. And since right now, there's news that construction and building and property is actually thriving, no, even amidst the pandemic. Siguro one last item, Attorney, that I'd like to ask you. Given po ngayon, no, in the situation where I think a lot of the government offices are on skeletal workforce, kasi how is it advisable na po ba na sila mismo pumunta ron, or would you advise people to first check or engage a lawyer para mabigyan sila ng guidance?
Yeah. It's best to have a lawyer or kahit broker or basta professional to help them ask these things. So kasi per LGU iba-iba ang process.
Okay.
So it's better also of course we know the process there, we've dealt with them. So we know how kumbaga we have their direct line already. Oh, etong LGU na to, we know na who to email. There are certain LGUs who do emails right now. Some naman they do drop boxes. But other LGUs still remain to require face-to-face transactions. So yun. It's
Alright.
also to avoid exposure for them as well.
Correct. So again,
Mhm.
I think thank you, Attorney. No? So for those who are watching Buildy, ProsTalk right now, we really encourage you. No? So again, King Graido is an affiliate of Buildy. If you need to inquire, Attorney Clar is very accommodating. You can save the time, the energy, and most of all, talaga, your hard-earned money when you consult professionals from the start. Okay? Bago nyo pa gawin yung gusto nyong gawin. Kasi ganun din yon sa mga nanonood, gagastos at gagastos kayo. Kung ang iniiwasan nyo, gagastos pa ako sa pagbayad sa abogado. Yung value po nun, hindi maa-outweigh yung risk pag walang professional no na nag-guide sa transactions ninyo. So with that, Attorney Clar, maraming po salamat. I hope this is not the last time that we will that we will be a guest on Buildy. I'm pretty sure after this episode there will be people asking questions on other things no that pertains to how do you deal with a lot of things in this pandemic. No? Kasi ang offices wala, I know everyone now is forced to go digital, online. But how do you transact online? Yung mga ganyan pong bagay, Attorney. So marami pong salamat, Attorney Clar. Thank you for those who tuned in. Again, King Graido is a affiliate partner of Buildy. If you want to check them out and if you want to reach out to them, they also have their Facebook page, King Graido, and they have their own website. So with that, marami pong salamat, Attorney King.
Thank you, Natalie. Thank you for the time.
All right, thank you, and again, we'll see you again on next ProsTalk. Bye.
Thank you.